Hello everyone, BYM here, and today I'm back with another episode of Wonderful Web of Nature, where I find myself on the Panamanian archipelago San Blas on the Caribbean coast of Panama. And today I wanted to talk about the critical role that coral played in forming this archipelago, as well as giving you some deep thoughts about exactly what makes coral so important for marine ecosystems. So it's hard to believe that the lush island behind me, with the coconut palms and different shrubs and wildflowers, was actually a result of coral depositing itself over time, one on top of the other, so that eventually sand would deposit itself on top of the reefs and plants would find their way over here, whether that would be through coconuts floating on the water, or through seeds being blown in the wind, or through birds coming over and bringing the seeds with their droppings. It's hard to believe that that's even possible. And to understand exactly the way that this works, I want to give you all a little bit of a deep dive into what coral is, whether it's an organism or whether it's just calcium buildup over time. And I'd like to give you an understanding that will change how you view the reefs around the world. So the reefs you can see behind me, believe it or not, are not just rock deposits. They are actually created by living organisms. And these living organisms are called polyps. They're in the family, or the phylum, called Cnidaria, which makes them related to jellyfish. And they actually employ somewhat of a tentacle-like body structure with a mouth that allows them to harvest plankton from the water and thereby feed themselves. But the beautiful colors that you see and are characteristic of coral are actually not created by these polyps themselves, but as a result of a mutualistic symbiotic relationship that they have with an algae called zooxanthellae. This algae provides the coral with the necessary nutrients that it achieves through its photosynthesis. And then it also provides, not only does it provide energy that it derives through creating glucose from its initial photosynthesis, but it also provides the polyps with oxygen that they need to survive in the water. In return, the coral gives a nice and protected environment for these algae to thrive. And it also provides carbon through its own respiration that it does to these zooxanthellae algae. And so this interesting relationship is what allows coral and these algae to subsist, and it creates the foreground for the buildup of islands and also for the colonization of the ocean with fish. And the colonization of the ocean with fish is the initial step that we will actually see and when you visit different reefs around the world. So as time passes, coral grows. And the way these structures grow is through polyps creating the calcium carbonate structures around them as a result of the respiration they do. And as polyps die, new polyps grow and build upon the previous structure that was left behind them by their ancestors. And their ancestors really are actually clones of themselves. So really, to think about this clearly, coral is actually just one large clone that continues to build upon itself and get larger over time. And what's very interesting is that as time passes by, coral creates an environment that allows all of these different creatures to subsist upon it. And this includes different types of fish, such as the damselfish, which is very notable in that it actually farms algae that grows upon the coral. And it has different territories that it creates and is very territorial against other fish that might be trying to take over its colony of algae. And this is really the only animal that I know of that engages in some sort of farming technique. But that just shows you how pivotal the coral is to the environment, because it allows that algae to even have a place to grow in the first place. And another animal that I really think is fascinating is the parrotfish. And you might not know this, but the parrotfish actually has a beak, which gives it the name parrot. And it uses this beak to harvest algae as well from the coral surface. But it's not the most efficient at just clipping the algae off of the surface of the coral. And so at the same time, it ends up, through collateral damage, biting off chunks of the coral. And what happens is, as the parrotfish excretes its waste, it excretes the waste in the form of sand. And so, as far as I understand, one parrotfish each year can actually excrete 100 kilograms of sand. So it's possible that the sand that we see and the sand that's all around me may have been a result of parrotfish over millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years at least. And so that's something that's fascinating, that is a little bit hard to wrap your mind around, honestly. So as time passes and the parrotfish get to work, the sand ends up depositing itself all around the reef, and the tide helps with that, of course. And so you can see behind me that, of course, there's a reef. The little darker, I guess you could say, formations that you see in the lighter sand behind me are actually coral. And as time passes, sand deposits itself on top of that coral. And you may be able to think that a tremendous amount of time needs to pass, and eventually enough sand will deposit itself that it can actually support life growing on the surface of it. And you can see that through the shrubs, grasses, and of course the coconut palms above me. And this is actually the cause for this island being created in the first place. And so you can see that without coral being present here, none of this life on this island, none of this beauty would have been possible for me and others to enjoy, and for life to have actually wound up living upon it, or wound up colonizing it. And I find that incredible. So the whole archipelago, San Blas Archipelago in Panama, was created as a result of coral reefs, and it's actually called a coral cay. That's the official name for this type of island and the way that it was formed. And so I feel very privileged to have been able to visit the island, and I hope you guys have learned a little bit on the way. And I would love to hear in the comments exactly what you'd like to see me make next for the next video. And so stay tuned, leave a like, and subscribe if you are new to the channel and you'd like to see more. Looking forward to the next video, and hopefully I can travel to another incredible place in the future to share with you guys. Have a good day or night wherever you are.